Hello, music listeners, underground enthusiasts, and anybody that has ever worn this outfit at some point in their lives. That's like a topical thing, right? There's a new game that just came out. I'm not gonna buy it, but that joke might really hit home for some people, so we're gonna go with it. We're doing another review, an EP review this time. Who are we talking about? It was in the title. You should know. Don't know why I'm asking these questions. We are talking about singer, songwriter, occasional producer, Loveless Collective member, and lead vocalist for Butane, Dex. And Dex has just recently released Without a Trace, an EP that I was definitely excited for, despite half of the tracklist already being released as singles, which I don't necessarily view as a bad thing, especially in the modern music environment of rapidly shifting attention spans and demand for insistent releases and promotion. At this point in time, it makes sense to drop 2 singles from a 4-track EP, given the current landscape and trends of music consumption. Is definitely a fight between artistic vision and satisfying demand. But Dex seems to handle this dynamic with ease because it's been a pretty busy past year or so for him, releasing 2 other projects within the past 8 months and a dozen or so singles. Dearly Departing, a 12-track album with Jolst in the executive producer chair, leaned heavily into emo trap and alternative emo sounds, and it was a project that I did enjoy quite a bit. And Learning to Lose, his most recent project before Without a Trace, saw Dex more so in the context of folk and singer-songwriter, but the emo trap influence found room on the project in songs like Stop Looking, Nothing's There, and I Might Be Invisible. And with these projects and singles, Dex has definitely established a solid and defined sound, but still remains somewhat eclectic, grabbing characteristics of related genres to blend them together. Like, yeah, folk and Midwest emo can sound similar, but they're different enough to recognize Dex music as a fusion between the two. And that leaves us with Without a Trace, another project in which the production is being led by Jolst with some assistance from Punk and Two Bears. So now that we have established some context, let's talk about it. The EP kicks off with Tear Duct, which leans into the emo trap sound that I'm familiar with, hearing from both Dex and Jolst. The production from Jolst and Punk seem to deviate a bit from the acoustic sound that I hear a lot from Dex, although it's not entirely unfamiliar or unheard of for Dex to approach a beat like this. It's got the trademark super sharp and choppy snares and hi-hats that seem to permeate into most songs of the genre, with some sparkly and digital melodies gliding up and down the beat. Some of the digitized synths are wispy and airy, but I also really love the more grounded and full notes of the other synth melodies that blend together really nicely into the mix. It's a pretty bright sound from Jolst and Punk, hitting some ethereal passages in the song while also providing enough rumble in the 808s and consistency in the percussion to help the song hit hard when necessary. But despite this synthetic and digital sound in the production, Dex's vocals are contrastingly pretty natural sounding, with a mix that focuses on the organic elements and qualities of his voice rather than matching them one-to-one with the production. It is a mixing choice that I really do appreciate, because it creates contrast in the mix while also sounding like just a natural and logical choice as a whole. Dex's incredibly clean vocals describe change and how staying stagnant in the life he's currently living just isn't working, recognizing that the habits perpetuated and the people surrounding him are toxic and just not beneficial to his personal growth, and how the process of breaking free from these conventions is kind of cyclical in a way. Old habits die hard, I guess. And One Fern's verse aligns more with the production side of things, with a wide synthesized mix that feels right at home with the production while also contrasting a clean and less noisy delivery from Dex. Fern's vocals here are really bright and almost feel like a part of the twinkly background key melodies. Tear Duct overall, it's a pretty great way to kick off the EP. I'm really happy with it and I like it a lot. And then right after that we have Fable, which was one of the 2 singles released before the project, and this song continues the trend of sharp stuttering drums with bright and atmospheric keys. And on this track, Dex's delivery enters a territory more akin to emo rap rather than the impassioned and somewhat straightforward singing showcased on Tear Duct. It's not a drastic difference, but there's an additional sense of urgency in the delivery, and the verses have rhyme schemes that are more thought out and written beyond tail rhymes. which is a lyrical intelligence that I like hearing from Dex, because despite the delivery of the lyrics having a focus on impressive notes and smooth cadence, it's deceptively dense in terms of information being presented. Hey. However, it's really only a mild change of pace because the song still displays some pretty great singing from Dex, in which he feels entirely comfortable delivering. And although this track expands upon the themes introduced in Tear Duct, there's a new element of subtle confidence that permeates throughout the track, with Dex saying that he's downtrodden so often that he's forgotten that he's capable of ballin'. He has the capacity to ball. And I think that this track is a good example of a semi-recent phenomenon I've noticed in emo trap and alternative emo, where there is a blend of self-deprecation and self-aggrandizing lyricism. It is an odd combination that is maintained in a fragile balance, but I'm happy to say that it is more than appropriate for the track and makes sense given the context of what is being said. Because if you can detach your biases from a sound typically associated with melancholy lyrics and insistently depressed mindsets, this is a generally pretty hopeful song. All of Dex's acknowledgement of things out of his control, such as the passage of time, reluctance to sit still and relax, isolation, and a contradicting aversion to relationships, seem to be present with an underlying hope that prevents a spiral into any one of these given issues. And the chorus reinforces this idea the most, acknowledging new problems that come with growing up, but also the ability to recognize what he's capable of, refusing to succumb to these problems. And as I said when initially reviewing this track for the weekly tracks list, and even a dinosaur reference. And then up next we have Viewfinder, and on the production side of things we have Two Bears on co-production with Jolst this time around, and although I'm not sure who did what in terms of the beat and production, I feel like that is a recognizable shift from the previous two tracks. Instead of the airy and bright synth melodies that we have that supported the tracks up to this point, Viewfinder has a soft and pretty piano melody that has a wonderfully balanced amount of resonance and room space on the beat. It's atmospheric and spacey, but still has a defined punch to it so that each note remains defined and doesn't get too muddy in the mix. And Dex's poignant vocals bleed emotion while remaining clean and digestible with one of my favorite flows on the EP. The icy flaws, nothing lost, not worth losing sheep delivery is really satisfying to the ears and flows so seamlessly to start off the first verse. And by this point in the project, you're reminded of how much emphasis Dex puts on vocals' cleanliness and legibility, because this is a genre that is often characterized by beauty and chaos, right? With overlapping saturated vocals rolling over each other to create a grand and wide sound that almost overtakes the beats at some point. But for the most part, Dex doesn't really subscribe to that ethos, with his background vocals resting comfortably in the distance, acting as a somewhat reserved support rather than something acting directly beside or with the main vocal. And this dynamic is executed really well. It lets the listener appreciate a clear delivery and mix while also giving the song enough components to fill the space to give it a full sound. And Fantasy Camp's ethereal harmonies and provided moodiness really amplifies the quality of the track as well. Even at the energetic peak of their verse, Fantasy Camp refuses to deviate from a soft and sweet delivery that creates a warm blend of low energy vocals and harmonies. And similar to the mixing difference between Dex and One Firm playing to the benefit of Tear Duct, the contrast in delivery between Dex and Fantasy Camp on Viewfinder is also beneficial to the tone and dynamic of the track, because Dex's bright and relatively sharp delivery transitions really well into the warm tone that Fantasy Camp provides, both delivering different but necessary energies to the track. And then to close things out, we have Entirely, whose energy and lyricism feels appropriate for a project closer, with a lot of the themes and topics discussed on the rest of the project making appearances throughout the track, culminating into one whole concept while still remaining a good standalone track. And on Entirely, it feels like Dex is coming to terms with the previously described feelings surrounding the idea of being alone or being on your own, acknowledging the recurring issues presiding over his life, while also understanding that time will pass whether they are present or not, so deciding to move forward in spite of those issues. And it feels like a realistic hopefulness. The lyrics know it ain't perfect, but this life is moving hourly, and entirely up to what I see, I'll make this my own if it kills me. are bittersweet understandings that sometimes success in life is built upon past failures and despair. And yeah, the song is still overall somber and sad in tone, but these lyrics sprinkled throughout implement a bit of nuance into the dejected tone of this track. I think it's a fitting end to a project that overall addresses a self-demand for Dex to move on and adapt despite persisting problems. But yeah, that's how I feel about the track. I mean, if you like, emo and alternative rock influences blended with a modern digitized and synthesized sound, kind of all wrapping around this general trap dynamic, I think that you would enjoy this project quite a bit. I had a good time with this one. It was nice. It was nice to just get a nice condensed, compacted 4-track EP that really, is deceptively dense. Like there's a lot of information being presented here. So yeah, that is it. Catch me in the next review where I take a shot every time my cat jumps up on my lap or in front of the camera and I have to edit it out. Bye.